you love high-level information just like this for KW agents in command, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and toggle the bell for instant notification.
All right, hey guys, I am going to shoot a second video here now showing you what the buyer side of the checklist in our opportunities look like, and also flipping back and forth between Danielle, our Rainmaker profile, and my personal profile that we use as our admin profile for our transaction coordinators. So with our buyers, we have very similar stages. We have the watch, nurture, and hot. Within our buyer stage, we have in the watch, we have a checklist that has them added to CTE. We're not using CTE, so really all it is you create an opportunity because someone has raised their hand and says they're interested in buying sometime, who knows when, but we want to keep track of that opportunity down the road. We're going to send them a buyer questionnaire so that we can just get an idea of what they're looking for, give some general information, and we're going to send them an email with some contact information, send them our YouTube buyer video series, and put them on a buyer nurture plan that we have that's a smart plan and just drips on them. We are going to, under the nurture stage, we're just making sure we have a buyer contact created in the MLS with a portal so that new listings are getting shot over to them right away. And then we're also sending them our preferred lender list so that they know who they should be reaching out to look at financing, because that's one of the most important stages for them. And then here, when they're hot, that means we're asking, they have their pre-approval. We're going to send to them their expectations of what it means to work with the Hayden Group. And knowing that when we have an appointment or when we go to see properties, you need to have your EMD ready, you need to have a checkbook, you need to know what cash to close is, making sure we're setting up the idea of they're going to drive by a property before we actually go and see them, especially in this day of COVID, and that what inspections and appraisals and what to expect. We say loop created, we're creating DocuSign accounts, and then we're adding their contact information to that DocuSign room. So that is where our Cultivate is. Appointments. We're same ones as for appointments for listings. We're scheduling, we're scheduled, and we're kept. So scheduling, literally all the task says schedule the appointment. Once they get that appointment scheduled, I'll just move someone forward so you can see what that task list. There's a couple tasks here. Have a buyer's guide customized. We use the one within Designs. We'll print it if we are doing an in-person one, or we also have it uploaded into our tablet so that we can just do a virtual listing presentation for them. Have the buyer documents printed if we are doing things in person. In today's virtual world, we'll make sure that they're just all set up in DocuSign, ready to send over as soon as we finish that consultation. Schedule any showings that we may have with them that they're requesting to go see so that we're ready to go and maybe make an offer that day and get them under contract. And then if we didn't previously, for some reason they moved pretty quickly and we don't have a room created for them, we create a room. And the day before, we want to make sure that our admin, our buyer specialist, they're calling before to make sure they have their pre-qualification and that everybody's going to be there who needs to be there for the appointment. So that will be under the scheduled. And for the kept, we have a few appointments. We want to make sure that that pre-approval has been put into the loop, that we have all the buyer documents signed, that our transaction coordinator has been added to our room, and we've sent them emails if they weren't on our nurture campaign. We moved really quickly, that we're setting their expectations of working with the Hayden Group. When they're active, so they signed with us and we're now looking, we're just doing the searches and showing. So all we're going to do here is take clients out on tours and add notes weekly. So I'm actually going to go inside one of our clients here. You'll see that we're putting notes. Our market specialist, Amanda, she is adding these notes saying, hey, I sent them new listing, texted her, let her know what's going on. Danielle, you can see people will stay sometimes in the stage for a really long time, just depending on what's going on. With COVID, obviously, the situation, some people have been in here a lot longer than others. And some of these people are going to have different things because we've added specific things, like we knew we were going to be with her, but we didn't get those buyer documents signed right away. Now we have buyer documents available and we have her pre-approval available. So I can go ahead and check those off and say they're ready to go. Awesome. In the negotiations, I'll have that picture of the checklist printed for you guys so you can see what that looks like, but I'll move it forward again so we can just go over it. But that's going to be the end of back and forth. We're going to turn off their MLS search so then they're not constantly getting a feed of new properties that are coming on the market. This is so they don't get that buyer remorse kind of thing. And then we're not distracting them from the transaction and the negotiation process. We're going to verify whether they're going to do a home warranty, whether they're accepting or waiving it. And then we're also asking for referrals and reviews at that stage. Again, just like when I talked about in the listing, the legacy is used for when you pulled over people in from .loop. If you had a loop created, but you didn't have an opportunity yet, if you pulled them in to command, they would show up in this legacy tab here, and then you would have to move them over into whatever stage they're actually in. Under contract, again, this is a really long checklist. You can see it has 2931 items. We talked about this before, but it's going to have all sorts of items. You can see some of them are in the works. And this is where we start assigning them to specific people to do. So you'll see that they are assigned in there. And we'll have a screenshot so you can see everything within that one. Once it's canceled, so it fell through negotiation after inspection, it didn't work. Same kind of thing. We want to make sure we notified the lender, but make sure we have all of that going on. And then once we have received all of that, we know they've received their funds, everything's been taken care of, you can then move them to a lost opportunity. The way to do that is within it, you're going to hit lost opportunity. Please don't do that until you've actually cleared out and made sure everything's good, because it goes to archive and then it's not here for you to work on, and make sure you get everything signed that you need to. One thing we will talk about, I can go ahead and show here, is under the documents. This is where we're using it. Under contract, you'll see it was returned. There was a couple things. We were missing a broker signature with that little issue within DocuSign. We're trying to figure out how best to do that, working out some kinks with the Market Center, but you can go ahead and submit all of them. They show if they're approved, if they're missing, if it's not required. Once you have also submitted the offer and you put the information in and you accepted it, that's when the commission tab goes live. Then you can go ahead and put all that information in here. As an example, with our one buyer here who is actively searching right now, they will show up under here. They are under contract. And this is where I'm able to put notes in also. So I put a note here about there's a referral to someone and our market specialist is getting this amount. So you can break it out within the commission structure, but it gets a little weird. But you're also going to go have an opportunity to put a note to the Market Center so that they know this is going on. They really appreciate that. You can also make notes in here if, say, the person who is buying the property, when you have a listing and they are a buyer agent on a team and the unit needs to be assigned within the MLS to the lead agent on the team and not that buyer agent, we can make a note here for our Market Center so that they know when they're entering that information in that it's right here ready to go. Works really well for that communication purposes, and it's just another place to have stuff. And then the last stage here is that clear to close, and I'll show you. If I move this one forward, it's going to flip over to this clear to close. It has a checklist all along here that gives you the information of what you need to do for clear to close, things like making sure we're scheduling the closing, setting up the walkthrough, making sure we're taking care of any issues of walkthrough and confirm there's no questions before we close. Now, if I move this back, because it was here, it's going to revert back to 5 out of 6 were checked, because when it was in the stage, 5 out of 6 were checked. So it's a really nifty little thing that's smart, but it can also be a problem if you're moving back and forth. So something to note there. And then our closed, again, we have nothing here because we haven't closed anything on the buyer side this month yet, but you'll be able to have it here and it'll have a checklist, and you'll see that in the document that we post with that information. Hope this has been really helpful. I answered most of your questions, and feel free to reach out or comment below if you have other questions. Thanks, guys.
If you love high-level information just like this for KW Agents in Command, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and toggle the bell for instant notification.